the Medal of Freedom's darkest day. At the White House, President Trump has posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk, a man who once called Martin Luther King Jr., quote, an awful person. It was an absolute tragedy that he was assassinated. But this is the same medal that once honored John Lewis, Rosa Parks, and Nelson Mandela. It's now being used to glorify a figure who spent his short life attacking equality and decency. Kirk's own words tell the story. He claimed, quote, transgenderism must be eradicated from public life, dismissed George Floyd's murderer as the criminal becoming the saint, and said white privilege is a myth. Again, entitled to have all of those opinions, and none of those opinions warranted anyone causing him physical harm. But is this really the essence of freedom in America? These weren't slips. They were applause lines at his rallies. Now, I want you to imagine something for me a moment. Imagine the uproar if a president gave this award. Again, this is the highest award an American can receive. It's our equivalent to being knighted. Imagine a president of the United States gave this presidential freedom, this Medal of Freedom, to Louis Farrakhan, who called Judaism, quote, a gutter religion. Or imagine a president gave Al Sharpton, who once called Jewish shopkeepers white interlopers and was involved in the Tawana Brawley hoax, unfairly accusing police officers of hideous crimes. That's the level of moral inversion we saw this week. Honoring Charlie Kirk with the nation's highest civilian award isn't patriotism, it's an atrocity. What's the real message here when President Trump gives the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk? He's sending a message. Minorities, stay in your place. If you're not straight, white, male, and Christian, you no longer count in this country. So shut up. The new honorifics are going to go to people like Charlie Kirk. It's a new era. That's the message. So let's go a little bit deeper here. Again, there are those of you who are going to write comments here and you're going to say, wow, TJ Walker's so awful, he was applauding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. No, that's not what I've done. I think it's abhorrent for anyone to take the life of someone else, especially for their beliefs. So no, I'm not condoning political assassination of people who have views I don't share. And you are a despicable liar for even insinuating that I've done that or that anyone has done that, because there has been a massive conflating of the idea that someone could be critical of Charlie Kirk's political views, and that's somehow the same as endorsing his assassination. It's not. It absolutely is not. There are plenty of conservatives, in fact, there are a lot of liberals who have been harshly critical of John F. Kennedy in his career and his policies as president. They've written entire books on it. And yet, just because you're critical of John F. Kennedy doesn't mean you approve of Lee Harvey Oswald or whoever you think murdered Kennedy. It doesn't mean that. So we're going to have to grow up, boys and girls, and realize that you can criticize someone and their values and their policies and what they advocated and their rhetoric, and it's not the same thing as endorsing assassination. It just isn't. And those two ideas have been commingled in a way that's meant to shut down criticism. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore, and I hope you don't either. Let's look at some more of the facts here. So again, there have been plenty of quotes out there about Charlie Kirk circulating that he did not, in fact, say. He did not apparently say, yes, I would like to stone to death any gay person. He didn't say that. Now, he certainly endorsed the Bible, which does endorse that, but I want to just stick with what he actually said. He said Martin Luther King Jr. is an awful person. You have a right to think that someone who fought for the rights of Black people to be able to vote, to be able to have a job, to be able to sit at a counter at a restaurant, you have a right to think that person's an awful person. But to then have the White House put their hand on you and anoint you as the epitome of freedom in America is a bit much. And the idea that I and others can't criticize that as despicable is just not acceptable at all. Kirk also said that diversity is essentially cultural Marxism. Okay, if you want to believe that, that's fine. But to suggest that that's a mainstream ideal, and that's something that most people value in America or believe, is just absolutely nonsense. Okay, I'm tired of talking about this person. I don't mean him any additional disrespect other than what I've already heaped on regarding his values, his rhetoric, not his right to live. I wish he were still alive, and I wish we lived in a country where people didn't give handguns and machine guns and other guns out like candy. I do. I have to put one little extra dollop at the end. This is one example where I think the mainstream media and even the left of center media has done a horrible job. There's now kind of this consensus that because the person who, the lead suspect, whom everyone believes murdered Charlie Kirk, because he has said some things to suggest he was against Kirk for ideological reasons and therefore is a part of the left. It's now become just accepted that, okay, well, this guy was a part of the left in the way that so many white supremacists who've killed people are a part of the right. I think it's time we all looked at things with a little more nuance. All human beings have multiple influences going on in their life. When former Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, former Lieutenant Governor Robinson, attacked gay rights and attacked transsexuals as a part of his political positioning, he's clearly influenced by the right and right-wing ideology. He's welcome to that. And hey, he served as Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, my home state. But when he went into online porn rooms and talked about his love for transsexuals and was looking at transsexual porn and saying things like he loved Hitler, he obviously has multiple influences in his life that did end up affecting his career. So I think it's perfectly possible someone like the alleged killer of Kirk had some left-wing influences and ideologies. That's certainly a part. There's no evidence whatsoever he was a part of any liberal or left-wing or radical or Antifa organization whatsoever. But some part of those ideas filtered down. But I would also suggest to you that he was profoundly influenced by right-wing MAGA culture, which says guns, good. Everybody has a gun. Go out and play with guns all the time. Have guns. Keep bullets around. Because if it's one thing conservatives and MAGA have told Americans every day for years, and before there was a MAGA, the conservative movement, I've been told this for the last 50 years, is that people on the left are so awful because they don't like guns. They don't have guns. They don't know how to shoot guns. They want to ban the sale of guns. They want to ban the sale of bullets. We've been told that again and again and again. So the fact that this guy had a gun, liked guns, knew how to shoot guns, had ammunition, if you're intellectually honest, you have to admit that part of him is influenced by right-wing culture and MAGA culture. Am I saying he was 100% motivated to commit this murder? No, I'm saying there were multiple influences on his life. That to me is the only intellectually honest thing you could say. Those who say he was pure this or pure that are just trying to spin this to their own narrow political advantage.